Welcome to the DrumChats podcast, where we're talking anything and everything to do with drums. Here are your hosts, Travis Davis and Dave Douglas.
Hey everyone, you're listening to Drum Chats. My name's Travis Davis. I'm here with my co-host, Dave Douglas. Dave and I actually met when I did an interview for him as a Drum Chats artist, and now we're going to be hosting this thing together. Dave, how are you, man?
I am so good. This is super exciting. We got to talk a little while ago, and we just kind of, it was one of those things where I guess we finished the interview actually, and then we just kept talking. And talking. We were like, shoot, we should talk more.
Yep.
And so we just kind of throwing some ideas around and decided that since we like talking about drums so much, and there's so much more to explore and learn about drumming, that we should maybe just do that on kind of like a more public format. So that's what we're doing here. This is our very first episode, which is very loose and just a quick little like, hey, this is who we are and what we're doing. And and so hopefully we'll find some people out there that we can connect with and are interested in kind of taking this little drum journey with us. I guess real quick, a couple of the things that we want to do with this podcast is like the main thing for me really is kind of just like to learn. There's so much information and variation when it comes to drums and drum related things out there floating around in the world. And we can learn a lot from each other, Travis and I, and but then also just like learning from people that we're interacting with online and people that will inevitably interview and things like that as we get deeper into this podcast idea. So and I guess, Travis, we've talked about a bunch of different topics that we'd like to explore already. And we have a bunch of like the usual ones, you know, like drum heads and sticks and that kind of stuff. But I think we even came up with a couple random ones already that might be pretty interesting for some people. It might be a little bit more niche, but like things like plies of drum shells is one that I like actually kind of threw out there. That was really interesting. Like how many plies.
Difference in
drums
tone.
That kind of stuff. Random stuff like bearing edges, or even for myself, like I sing often when I'm playing drums, which is a real pain in the butt. But there's some information that like people could like maybe glean from some of my experience about being like a singing drummer and like mic choices and that kind of stuff. So those are some of the ideas that we had, and we're going to explore like a boatload more. But before we do that, we just want to talk about a little bit about who we are and why in the world anyone should care to listen to a podcast where we're talking about these things. So back to you, Travis. You've got this Drum Chats thing that you have already been doing for a while, and beyond being a drummer yourself, you've already had all kinds of interaction with people in the field. Do you want to just real quickly just kind of do a little once over of who you are and what your experience is?
Yeah, for sure. Drum Chats, it started back in late 2017, and I've had the pleasure and honor of interviewing guys like Garrett Goodwin from Carrie Underwood, Matt Greiner, of course, my co-host Dave Douglas from Reliant K. And Drum Chats, basically, Dave put it exactly the way that I've intended for it to be, is just a central hub of learning everything about drums. And I think a lot of people don't really think about all the small details that go into drums. They just think about a guy in the back of the stage beating the snot out of a bunch of stuff. But, you know, like Dave was saying, talking about different shell types, different what an acrylic shell does versus a wood shell, different types of tuning, different types of drum styles, and all these different things. Drum Chats is a central hub of everything you can think about with drums. We wanted to make the center of all of that. And so bringing Dave on, like he was saying, when he and I did an interview, we talked maybe 20 minutes before the interview, we chatted for an hour, and then we chatted for 5 or 10 minutes afterward, and just could not put it down. And so we had the idea to make this podcast and said, hey, we could chat on this for hours. And we thought, why not do a podcast? And so Yeah, I started Drum Chats because I'm the drummer for a church here in Austin, Texas called Shoreline Church. And I've got a bunch of drummers who I work with in workshops. And I wanted to do a clinic one night. And Garrett Goodwin from Carrie Underwood's a good friend of mine. Hey, Garrett, how are you? And I called him down, brought him into Austin, and we got some people together. And I thought, man, we could make this a real thing. And so that's how Drum Chats was born. And one thing, just one thing led to another, kind of a domino effect. And I ended up meeting Dave, who was referred to me by so-and-so. And Dave was actually the first drummer that I ever actually saw on video before I started playing drums. And so,
how is that even possible? The first?
I really think the first. I mean, I
What,
listened
like a YouTube video or like a music video?
It was the anatomy of the tongue-in-cheek record.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
It was back when CD-ROMs were cool. If there's any people who don't know what a CD-ROM is,
They were so cool.
It's basically a DVD before the DVDs came out. Reliant K had their music video for Pressing On on the CD, and I would watch that thing over and over and over again, and I would go grab chopsticks and I would sit at this giant computer box and just try to figure out what Dave was doing. And then, 6 months later, I asked my parents for a drum set for my birthday, and here we are 14 years later, and I'm still playing drums all the time, regularly. And now Dave and I are hosting this thing, so it's pretty wild. But yeah,
that's ridiculous. Actually, that's really, really crazy.
Yeah. I
like that we don't really know each other at all, and we're doing this because we're gonna learn so much about each other, just on a personal level.
Dude,
when two people are on a podcast together, it's really easy to assume that they that they know each other,
yeah.
Right? And we're very new friends,
yeah,
right? We've only talked really a handful of times. We've shot a bunch of emails and texts back and forth and stuff, but really we don't really know each other very well.
No.
In fact, we've never met in person, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
So, someday we'll have to do that.
For sure.
Yeah. That's pretty wild though. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, this is a super exciting, for both of us, both being longtime drummers, and there's not a crazy amount of people that you can talk shop with about drums.
Right?
It's some most people don't want to hear you talk about shell types and what your favorite cymbals are,
yeah.
and things like that. So this is a cool opportunity for me, and I know you've talked about it too. Just to be able to go into some of that nitty gritty of drumming and just throw ideas around and learn from each other. So
definitely.
I'm super excited about this, and I think we're going to have a ton of fun doing it.
Yeah.
It'll be a really great experience, and I hope it is for some listeners as well. And hopefully we get lots of interaction from listeners. In fact, speaking of interaction, I know this is our first episode and we have no listeners right now, but that's okay. We're going to get some,
yep.
And it's going to be fantastic. And we want to hear from you guys. And Travis, can you tell people how to get in touch with us and how to leave us annoying messages and messages that aren't annoying as well?
Yeah. I introduced who I am, but let's talk about who you are. What have you done, and why are you here?
Yeah, well, I guess you did mention when you were talking about the music video for Pressing On, you did mention that the drummer for Reliant K. So that's how most people know me. I started playing with Reliant K in 2000, so many years ago. Yeah, it's crazy. So started playing in 2000 with Reliant K, did a bunch of records, toured a crazy amount, and I actually I left the band right at the end of 2007 and took an almost 7-year break doing my own thing and doing my own music and getting my production company off the ground. So that's what I do most of the time now, Dave Douglas Productions, and I'm producing and recording and mixing for other artists and other music projects in general. So I do that a ton. So I took that time and got that running. And then a few years ago, actually got back together with the Reliant K guys and have been played every show since for the last 4 years or something like that. So we've had a few big tours here in the last few years, and then had some chunks of time where we didn't do a lot. So we're in one of the not doing a lot moments right now. And that'll probably change at some point, but but yeah, so back with Reliant K for the last few years. Yeah, I guess most people kind of know me as the drummer from Reliant K. That's like most of the records, most of the work from Reliant K that's out there. I'm the drummer on. So, yeah. So I guess that's my quick little overview of my drumming history, in the public anyway.
Yeah. So it's such a really cool thing to even think about. We had talked about different names, for this, and we're like, you know what, let's just call it Drum Chats. And then all these other little cues started coming in. Like when I went to audio school, all the studio guys, my name's Travis Davis, so people would just call me Trav Dave. And then when I got to know Dave, I was like, what if we called this Trav Dave's podcast? And like all these little weird things. But I think it's really cool how Dave's history and my history are very different, but they also feed off of each other. And so we're going to have a lot of different topics and a bunch of different stuff for you guys to hear. We're going to be bringing on some guests in the future. We're going to get in contact with people that who probably even know more than we do. And
hopefully that's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we want to learn things too. That's like I said, a huge part of why we're here. Like, we only know so much, and actually for like a lot of time, like I've played drums forever, but like there were huge periods of time where I like didn't really get into like all this nitty gritty of drums. Like I've had a couple kits built for me over the years. Yeah. And there were times where they asked like, oh, well, do you want this? Do you want this? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I've never thought about it before. I've never had the option. No one's been like, I'm building you a drum set and like you get to pick everything. Like, so there's all kinds of details that I didn't know, and I learned a little bit, but there's so much more to learn all the time. So yeah, hopefully between the two of us talking and doing research on our own about topics before we do these podcasts, and then pairing that with having guests on who have all their own experiences and knowledge, like hopefully we're all going to learn a ton here. So that's really the goal.
Absolutely. And we want to help set you guys up for success. Anybody listening, whether you're an expert or barely picking up a pair of sticks or never have before, we want to influence your drumming. We want you to learn as much as you can, because like Dave said, one day you could get a call from a custom drum company and have no idea what you're talking about. But here we're going to be setting you guys up with a lot of stuff. So if you have any questions, you want to reach out to us, ways to follow us are Instagram at DrumChats, Facebook at DrumChats, Twitter at DrumChats. You can also reach out to us individually. My email is travis@drumchats.com. You can also hit up Dave you guessed it, Dave@drumchats.com.
Perfect.
And any questions you guys have, we will be more than happy to answer. You can also follow us on our YouTube channel, which is DrumChats. And that's really the best way to find us, drumchats.com. We've got pictures and all the video interviews. We'll also have links to this podcast. We have a storefront. Everything that you can think of, drumchats.com will put you everywhere. And so, again, like Dave was saying, we're going to be talking about anything from different types of drum heads to different drum types to different music and all kinds of stuff. So we're really excited to be doing this. And we plan to be releasing an episode on the first day of every single month. That's our goal so far.
Yeah, so we'll do that for a couple months, and actually we have talked about even upping it a little bit after a few months. So hopefully we'll even be able to get a couple more or things out a little bit more often than that. But definitely, like, it's going to be the first of the month here for the next few months, and super excited. And please tag all this Drum Chats things and tell your friends about it, and let's get some people involved. And we're super excited about this. So until next time, what's our little sign off? We don't have a sign off yet, right? We have to come up with a sign off.
We gotta do a jingle or something.
Yeah, okay. We'll come up with the jingle for our first real episode. This is our pilot episode, but our second episode will be a little bit more put together, maybe. So we'll come up with something in the near future for that, for sure.
And with that being said, this is Drum Chats. Go like, follow, share, subscribe, all of those things, and we will see you guys next time.